So what is the pelvic floor? And how exactly do you work this thing out? Everybody talks about wanting to have a strong pelvic floor, do your Kegels, learn how to really strengthen your pelvic floor so you can, feel good, have a strong core, all that stuff. But really, does anyone actually know what the pelvic floor is? So this video is going to tell you all about what exactly the pelvic floor is and how it works and why you should care, along with a couple ways to start strengthening and working out your pelvic floor so you can live a fit, healthy, active life and have a strong core. So join me as we discuss exactly what is this pelvic floor that people talk about. So we all have one of these things called a pelvis. The pelvis sits right here. It is this whole region. We have our two hips, our hip sockets, and then inside we have the pelvis. The hips are right here. Then we have the pelvis. The pelvis are these bony structures that hold what's called the pelvic floor. Here is the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor is composed of 3 different muscle layers. The first layer is this one right here. The second layer is more fascial in nature, but with some muscles as well. And then you have a third one, which is really a lot deeper muscles. That is the pelvic floor. And it's composed of a lot of different muscles with fancy names. For example, this one is called the ischiocavernosus. Around here is called the bulbocavernosus. You have things in the third layer called the coccygeus, ischio-coccygeus, pubo-coccygeus, obturator internus, all just fancy names that you don't even need to know about. People just call this thing the pelvic floor, and they're talking about all the layers of the muscle. Now, what exactly does this pelvic floor do, and why should you even care? Great question, and I'm going to get into that right here. All right, so the pelvic floor has 3 different holes inside of it. One where we poop out of, one where we have sex or birth babies out of, and then one where we pee out of. Then the pelvic floor has the clitoris, which is for feeling good, sexual intimacy and stimulation, and of course orgasm. And so we have all these things that the pelvic floor controls. So we want this muscle to be strong, right? Okay, I want you to take a look at this picture. This picture right here is showing you the top of the core, which is the diaphragm, the bottom of the core, which is the pelvic floor, and then you can see the front of the core, which is the transverse abdominis muscle, which is a lower abdominal muscle, and then on the back of the core, we have your low back muscles and your glute muscles. This makes up the core. In this video, we're specifically talking about the pelvic floor, and I want you to learn how to make this muscle strong. But in reality, this muscle is just one of the muscles that works with the entire core that you see here on this picture. So we want the entire core to be strong, and a lot of people just focus on how to make this pelvic floor strong and don't know exactly how to work it or what it should be doing. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I want you to know exact functions of how this muscle group works so you can get your muscles stronger. Now, there's a lot of fancy things on the market. There are different biofeedback machines where you put something inside the vagina and you squeeze it and you relax it. There are electrodes that you can put outside of your body, which is called biofeedback, and you can contract and relax it, and there's different games that you can play that tell you if you're doing that. However, what that doesn't account for is how well are you squeezing, or how well are you relaxing, and how well are you over-relaxing. So the pelvic floor does these 3 functions that are all super, super important. The first function is it completely relaxes. The second function is it completely contracts. And then the third function is that it relaxes and it bulges and overstretches. It has to do that so you can have good healthy bowel movements and so you can birth babies. And so that is the responsibility of the pelvic floor. Now, what does that mean? If you have the ability to relax it and contract it and overstretch it, does that mean you have a strong pelvic floor? Absolutely. However, what if you don't? What if you can only feel it contract a little bit? Or what if you can feel it contract a lot, but then you can't really feel it fully relax? that means that you have a weaker pelvic floor. Some signs of weak pelvic floor include incontinence, so like maybe you pee a little bit when you jump rope, or it could mean that you have pain with intimacy. You could have hip pain, low back pain, and constipation. These are all pelvic floor issues, meaning that the pelvic floor isn't fully strong in the way that it should be. Most pelvic issues actually stem from the fact that the pelvic floor is too tight. But yet, everything that's being sold to fix the pelvic floor is contract it, squeeze it, work it out. Well, I'm here to tell you something new. And the new thing is that we don't want to just strengthen and squeeze. That's actually not how we get the pelvic floor stronger. How we make true changes to make the pelvic floor superhero strong, like actually very, very strong, is by learning how to work that overstretch range of motion and that full relaxation. Because then every time that you need to go and squeeze it, it squeezes that much stronger. If you're only squeezing, if it's starting at a resting point right here, and then you're only squeezing from here to here, it's actually pretty weak. We need that muscle to squeeze from here to here. The more range of motion that it goes through, the stronger that muscle is, the more power that muscle has, so you won't pee yourself, you won't have pain, and actually the tighter things will be. So the better sensation that you will have. Pelvic floor strength all starts with the ability of having the pelvic floor fully relax and be able to overstretch. So you're asking me, how do we do this, right? Well, I'm going to tell you. Here, I want you to look at this picture. Again, this is a side view now that you're seeing. You're seeing in this picture a picture of the diaphragm and a picture of the pelvic floor. I want you to look at both of those. I want you to look at the side that says inhale. As you inhale, the diaphragm drops down and becomes tight as the lungs expand, and then the pelvic floor opens as you inhale, as seen in this picture. Then what happens on the exhale, when you blow the air off your body, the pelvic floor recoils and the diaphragm recoils. So then it becomes shortened. This is all happening naturally. So how do we get the pelvic floor stronger? We learn how to extend and overstretch the diaphragm, and we do that with the inhale. So that's why breathing is such an epic exercise to strengthen the pelvic floor. And in order to make it longer so that when it contracts, it's actually stronger. So here we go. We're going to do a breathing exercise together. I want you to put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and take a nice deep breath into your belly. Exhale and let it go. Inhale again and open. Air goes into the belly. Try not to let the hand on the chest move. And exhale and let it go. Now when you inhale, I want you to sink down to your sit bones and to your pelvic floor. And I want you to feel the sit bones opening and the pelvic floor opening as you inhale, and then start to feel the recoil as you exhale. So here we go. We're going to inhale together, and then exhale. Get some recoil. Inhale, open, exhale, recoil. This is how to make your pelvic floor stronger. If you are constantly just doing Kegels, where you're squeezing your pelvic floor, trying to tighten it and shorten everything in between those sit bones, that's going to actually lead to some serious tightness and serious weakness. And tightness isn't good in this regard, because then we're not getting the blood flow for natural lubrication, so we're not getting the good sensation and the good beefy muscles. Our muscles, when they stay tight and turn tight, they turn to more beef jerky. We want these muscles to be supple. We want them to be like a juicy steak or a chicken breast. We need them hydrated. In order to hydrate them, we need to open them up. So, how to get a strong pelvic floor is to truly learn how to open your pelvic floor. Now, follow me on this. Every time that you're on a walk or doing a squat, your pelvic floor is naturally going to contract and work. So everything you're doing in your daily life, as long as your core is turned on, your pelvic floor is contracting and working. And that's why the magic for getting a strong pelvic floor actually comes with the relaxation. So this breathing exercise I gave you is a gold mine for how to get your pelvic floor truly stronger and to start changing your core today. I see people that are super fit with six-pack abs and they have such tightness in their pelvic floor. They don't have this range of motion of opening the pelvic floor, and so therefore they have a really weak core. And so they have problems like incontinence or a diastasis recti, which is like a separation of the abdominal wall. We don't want that for you. We want you to have a super strong pelvic floor, and you're gonna get that by starting this breathing exercise. We're gonna take this a step further, and I'm gonna give you a second exercise. And I want you to try this with your breath, because this is gonna be really important to getting the final pieces of the strength component. So we're gonna do a squat together. Oh, let's do a wall squat. You're gonna put your back against a wall. You'll slide down the wall and bend your knees. As you go down, you'll inhale, opening your pelvic floor. And as you come up, you're gonna exhale, where the pelvic floor recoils. As you go down, your glutes stretch. I want you to feel this in your booty. And as you come up, you get some recoil of your pelvic floor. Really important that as you go down, you inhale, get the lengthening, because that's where the power is going to come from. And then on the exhale, you get the natural recoil of your pelvic floor. Everyone has the natural recoil. If you're living in a tightened state, it's going to be the hardest to get the elongation and opening of the pelvic floor. So do these two exercises. It will change your life. It will change the quality of your pelvic floor, and you will have a super strong pelvic floor. Tell your friends, like and subscribe, share this video, because we want everyone to have really healthy, strong pelvic floors. And the Kegel mechanism for strengthening pelvic floor is just dead. No one needs to be doing that. Our moms, our grandmas, they all did Kegels and it didn't work for them. So I'm here to tell you that I want you to do these opening techniques to truly change the quality and the length of your pelvic floor to give you all the strength in the world and all the power in the world. This will change your life. It'll support your joints for the rest of your life. It'll keep your hips feeling healthy. It'll keep you free of back pain and keep you from peeing your pants. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dr. Allison Felt. Please join and like our community. We will send out videos twice a week, and we hope you enjoy your ride to making your pelvic floor strong and supple and super healthy. Take care.